What's going on, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers? This is your boy, PorterRock77. I'm back with another video. Of course, I'm your only friend in these YouTube streets, and I'm glad you're here rocking out, checking out the video. To all my new subscribers, appreciate it. Welcome to the channel, and I hope you enjoy all the content that I provided in the past and all the future stuff that I'm going to provide. If you're new right now listening, welcome aboard, and I hope you get to stick around. What time is it? It's 2:30 in the morning, so why am I up this late? I'm leaving. I'm going back to Germany tomorrow. I'm in Italy now, and I miss my wife and whatever. And normally I break night before I go on the airplane, so that way it's an easier time for me to sleep on the plane because I hate to stay up. You know, I just sleep, and it feels like a 10-minute ride because I'm knocked out. But anyway, so why am I doing this video? God of War, Spider-Man, The Last of Us 2, Detroit Become Human, Death Stranding, Uncharted 4, Horizon Zero Dawn. Games like this is a testament to where game production is a priority. Recently, news broke out that Sony is building another studio in San Diego for AAA development. And about 2 months ago, news broke out that Sony's restructuring their organization to maximize first-party output of exclusive games. So, in fact, that came out first, like 2 months ago or something like that. I think it was like early January, maybe February. Announcement was Sony, restructuring their business, putting leaders in different positions, reorganizing different, structure to maximize first-party output of games. And now, like last week, we got word that they're building a new studio. Now, keep in mind, you don't see PlayStation gamers, you don't see gamers in general, but mostly PlayStation gamers, PlayStation YouTube podcasts like myself, Jay Bari, shout out to them, and other podcasts. We're not complaining that Sony needs more first-party studios. In fact, we're pretty much content with how much first-party studios they have and the relationships they have with second-party studios. So we're not really jumping up and down, Sony, you need more studios. No one's really saying that. In fact, that's probably one thing that Sony doesn't really need to do. They have other things to worry about, like name change, adding backwards compatibility, at least on the PlayStation 5, improving the networks, maybe add dedicated servers, things like that we complain about. We talk about and we hope that Sony implements. Building more first-party studios is really not even the thing to talk about on PlayStation because they have a phenomenal size and depth of personnel, people that work for Sony to produce games. So that is pretty good. Yet, they're building more and it's getting bigger. Why? Because that's their number one priority. It is. It's their number one priority. Their number one priority is games, which is a great priority to have. And that, to me, if you make a console, if you're a console manufacturer, that should always be your number one priority. Your number one priority should always be game development. All right? Everything else comes second, third, fourth, fifth. You can make, power and features, or power and hardware number 2, and features and services number 3, and other shit number 4, 5. But number one should always be games. Number one. Now, I already know what people are gonna say. Well, Porter Rock, if Sony's number one priority was games, then why was stuff dry in 2013, 2014, early in the gen? Some of yous probably weren't PlayStation fans, prior to the PlayStation 4. Or if you did own a PlayStation 4, it probably wasn't your preferred platform. Your preferred platform was either Xbox, Nintendo, or PC. So let me explain to you as a person whose preferred platform was PlayStation since the PlayStation 1. Before that, I was a Sega dude, but Sega's no longer around. So my new console preferred platform was PlayStation 1, mostly for the games. 2013 November is when PlayStation 4 came out, right? Check it. In that year, The Last of Us, big new IP came out for the PlayStation 3. Huge new IP. It wasn't a launch PS4 title. It was a PlayStation 3 title. It eventually became a remastered title on the PlayStation 4, right? PlayStation 4 wasn't backwards compatible. Different conversation. We could talk about that. But ultimately, it was a PlayStation 3 game that came out the same year that the new console was coming out. I want you to think about that. The Last of Us came out, I think it was June 2013, when the PlayStation 4 was coming out in November. The Last of Us easily could have been the game that was developed for the PlayStation 4 and be ready in time for launch. But Sony supported the older platform, right? Let's rewind back to the PlayStation 3 launch. PlayStation 3 launched November 2006, right? February 2007, God of War 2 dropped. Now, the PS3 was backwards compatible, so you're able to play God of War 2 on the PlayStation 3, but make no mistake, God of War 2 was a PlayStation 2 title. It was not a PlayStation 3 title. And it came out after the PlayStation 3 launch. You know, I remember I had the PlayStation 3 in my home. I already had it. In fact, I bought it that month. And God of War came out in March. I'm sorry, God of War 2 came out in March. Like a month later, God of War 2 came out. I just played on my PS3, you know, because the PlayStation 3 was backwards compatible. But it was a brand new PlayStation 2 game. It wasn't like I was playing the whole game. It was brand new, fresh off the printed mint, you know. I bought it day one. God of War 2 could have easily been a PlayStation 3 production game, but they released it on the PlayStation 2. Sony supports their platforms towards the end, right? At a certain point, Sony cuts off development maybe like a year or two right before the console launches, but the game's not going to be ready in 2 years, you know? Like, for example, Horizon Zero Dawn, it was 6 years in development, and it came out in 2017, so do the math. If it came out in 2017, that means the game was already in production in 2011. That's when they started the project. PlayStation 4 came out in 2013. So Horizon Zero Dawn was already a PlayStation 4 game, because Sony decided to start producing games for the PlayStation 4 in 2011. That's one example, right? Uncharted came out in 2016. So let's say it took 5 years to make Uncharted. So that's like 2010, which sounds right, because I think that was the last Uncharted that came out in 2010, maybe. Makes sense, right? So 2 years before the new generation of console comes out, Sony cuts off their games, because that's the game that's going to come out for the new platform. But you can't make a game in 2 years. It's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to make. So Sony always intended to support their next generation console. It's just going to take time to get into there. But make no mistake, it's not just a phrase. Because right now on Xbox, we're saying, oh, it's going to take time to make these games. Is Microsoft really making games? I don't know. We really don't know. At least with Sony, we know, because they announce their games like on average 2 years before the games come out. So we see the actual effort that they put in, right? And also we see announcements of what they do with their studios. I remember last year, Sony, a simple announcement saying that they who is it? The studio that's making Days Gone. I'm having a brain fart. But the studio that's making Days Gone, Sony bought them a new facility because the studio's growing. You see what I'm saying? Even something announced with that. So we see the growth, we see the effort in Sony's first party studios. It's not something we're left, you know, like wondering. We're not here wondering, wait for E3. We're getting little bits of news. So when Sony says, hey, first party development is important, you see actual stuff that pertains to that. You see them restructuring the organization. You see them say, hey, this studio is growing, and we built them a new, we got them a new facility because the old facility was too small, right? We see announcements, hey, a new store is being built in San Diego for future development. So we know Sony's planning more games. And the studios that they have are growing. You see what I'm saying? That's because gaming is their priority. If gaming is your priority, you're going to see the news about gaming, you know? And you're not going to wait around wondering like this. Wait for E3. You're not going to see that, all right? So Sony's always been about games. They've always been about bringing compelling titles. They always bring new content to the platform, right? and they've always been about supporting their current platform for as long as they can. Like the PlayStation 4 is going to be supported for as long as they can because they have a huge fan base and they're going to do their best to support that. Make no mistake, PlayStation 5 may have a little drought in the beginning because, again, a lot of those titles are going to cut over specifically for the PlayStation 5. You know, it's going to take 3, 4, 5 years to make. But once they put it in, boom, that console is going to hit all cylinders. I would imagine the games Sony making for the PlayStation 4 will be cross-gen for PlayStation 5. So maybe like Death Stranding, The Last of Us 2, Ghost of Tsushima, things like that, Days Gone, might have PlayStation 5 versions with enhancements, improvements, whatever. Is it something you could need to buy a PlayStation 5 for? If you're a hardcore graphics guy, maybe, whatever. Some of y'all might think, well, what about you, Puerto Rock? Are you going to buy a PlayStation 5? Because if you buy a PlayStation 5, then you're a hypocrite because you said power doesn't matter. Yes, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 5, all right? But it isn't because of power. Okay, granted, next generation consoles need more power because if you don't, then what's the difference between a PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation 4? I'm not going to pay $400 for a PlayStation 5 that does the same thing as a PlayStation 4. So yes, a PlayStation 5 needs more power. But yes, I'm going to buy a PlayStation 5 because PlayStation 5 is going to have PlayStation 5 games. I'm not going to be able to play PlayStation 5 games on a PlayStation 4. Now, if every single game on PlayStation 5 was playable on a PlayStation 4, every single one, to include exclusives, then what incentive do I really have to buy PlayStation 5 other than graphics? Not very enticing. Does that make sense? But PlayStation 5 is going to have exclusive. Even, I ain't going to say an article, but chances are Sony has mentioned they don't believe in removing generations. The PlayStation 5 will be a next generation platform, which means my PlayStation 4 at a certain point is going to be useless because all the games that Sony's going to make is going to be on PlayStation 5, and that's the only way to play them. So what I'm going to do with a PlayStation 4 when all the exclusives are coming on PlayStation 5? So no, I'm not a hypocrite if I get a PlayStation 5 because I know that's the only way I'm going to be able to play PlayStation 5 games. And that's the important part. After that, I don't care if the PlayStation 5 is the most powerful console. I'm not going to brag about that. Just as long as they create a console that can keep up with the tool sets that allow developers to make the games that they want. May not be the very best version of the games. Xbox could have the best platform out there in terms of consoles. That's fine. I'm not going to be mad about that. Just as long as Sony creates a console that other developers can enjoy, well, I don't say enjoy, but make the games for that current generation of gaming, I'm good with that. Doesn't have to be the best. The PlayStation 2 wasn't the most powerful. PlayStation 1 wasn't the most powerful. PlayStation 3 at the time was the most powerful, but it wasn't the most optimized. So 360 still got the better version of games. And then PlayStation 4 started out as the most powerful, but now Xbox One X ends up as being the most powerful. It doesn't really matter. The transition of power doesn't really matter. As long as, let's say if you got this window of performance that meets developer expectation, you don't have to be at the very peak top. Just as long as you're within that window where developers can create titles, use the tool sets that they need to maximize the game and bring you a great experience, that's all it is. But PlayStation 5 for me will be PlayStation 5 games, right? But back to the point, game development has to be #1 priority for any company. Nintendo, Microsoft, PlayStation, And because Sony's #1 priority games is why they fought to get exclusive rights to make Spider-Man games. And you got these new big IPs. They're going out there saying, hey, we're building new studios. The thing we want to see Microsoft do, right, that we're out there vocal, and you got big YouTubers, Xbox Pro channels that are out there vocal, telling Microsoft, you need to do this, we need to hear this, we need to hear this. In reality, it's Sony that's doing it. We're hearing Sony building new studios. We see Sony restructuring their business to produce new studios and maximize first-party output. They're the ones doing it. And nobody's really asking them to do it. They're just doing it because they're taking the initiative to maximize, taking the initiative to know what's the most important aspect of gaming as a console provider. which is produce exclusive games. Because at the end of the day, these exclusive games is what define the console. And I know everybody's going to be like, well, everybody's buying the multiplats. Well, if you're just worrying about fucking multiplats, then why don't you just fucking game on PC? PC has all the multiplats. They have the better version of the multiplats. You can play all these multiplats at 60 frames. You don't have to... PC is the ultimate backwards compatible platform. You cannot beat PC's backwards compatibility. Their games is backwards compatible all the way to fucking 20 years. 30 years and shit. So backwards compatibility is second to none. Free online. You can play the games the way you want. If you prioritize frame rate, then you're going to get good frame rate. If you prioritize graphics, you're going to get good graphics. So you can't say the game is not running the way you want. No, it's going to run the way you want. If you play a game and you're like, man, the frame rate sucks in this game, well then adjust it. Now you got the best frame rate that you want. If you're only worried about multiplats because everybody in the world, that's what they mostly want. Oh, people really only play Fortnite, so exclusives don't matter. Well, fuck. If you only worry about Fortnite, why are you playing on Xbox? You can play it on PlayStation, which is free. You don't even need a subscription. Or you can play it on PC, which is also free. You don't need a subscription. So what the fuck? You know, if that's all you're worried about. Well, most people only buy multiplats. No, you're buying a console for a fucking reason. You cannot tell me it's just for fucking, you know, community and services. It's just, this service shit is full of crap. All right? I'm going to tell you why. Game Pass. Is it a great idea? Sure. It's a great concept. You know, $10 a month, you get to play a lot of games, right? But notice, Game Pass is being compared to Netflix, right? You compare it to Netflix. And how can I play this? Why do we compare it to Netflix? Why is Netflix the comparison? Netflix is the comparison because it's the best streaming service for movies out there. Notice nobody says, oh yeah, Game Pass is going to be the next Hulu. Or Game Pass is going to be the next Vudu. Or whatever other streaming service. They always compare it to Netflix. Netflix is by far the most successful movie streaming service in TV shows and all that, right? But why? Not because it simply streams movies and movies and shows to you, because other services do that. But what separates Netflix from everybody else is content, which are exclusive content. Game Pass is not going to be successful if it doesn't have exclusive content. It needs exclusive content. It's got to attract people to this service, not just simply say, oh, I could play a game from fucking 1985 for $10 a month, or backwards compatibility. It's not really that. And people can say, well, there's great value. Hulu has great value. There's other streaming services like Vudu and all these other shit has great value technically. Where you, for $10 a month, $9 a month, you can watch all these stuff. But a lot of people don't sign up for those. They sign up for Netflix because it has exclusive content. You know, Microsoft has to prioritize games, and that prioritize has to remain consistent. At no point should any of these console developers not make gaming the number one priority. It has to stay number one forever. Everything else, second. That's the highest it should go. Power, performance, or hardware, second priority. Services and stuff like that, third priority or second priority. Doesn't matter what priority you make these other stuff, they're no higher than two. Number one will always be your games and your studios that makes these games. That will always be your number one priority. It has to be. Because that's what defines your console. That's what defines your platform. Your platform is going to be remembered for the games that you can't play anywhere else. That's it. No one's going to associate Call of Duty with PlayStation and Xbox. Sure, people could say, well, PlayStation had the marketing rights. But at the end of the day, everybody knows you can play Call of Duty everywhere. Right? No one says Call of Duty is a PlayStation game or Call of Duty is an Xbox game. It's just a game that everybody plays. Right? But when I say Halo, what platform do we think about? If I say God of War, what platform do we think about? If I say Super Mario, Zelda, what platform do we think about? Right? If I say Red Dead Redemption, what platform do I think about? Exactly. Know the difference between games that define the platform. And it's the responsibility of the console maker to prioritize that. And that's it. So games like God of War, Spider-Man, Death Stranding, it's just, you could clearly see that's Sony's vision and priority. And that's why we're getting all these games. And I want Microsoft to be in that position. You know, I own an Xbox. Now, the way I am, Xbox is not my primary platform. For some of you, it is. You know, so you buy PlayStation for the exclusives, Xbox for everything else. And that's perfectly fine. Not knocking you on that one. I'm the opposite. Now, the reason why I'm the opposite is because since Sony or the PlayStation brand produces a lot of exclusives, a lot of games, they put so much effort into producing so much content. They put a lot of effort in relationships with Japanese developers and Western developers, you know, for marketing rights or timed exclusives or even permanent exclusives on their platform. Sony does a lot more to get these titles on their platform. I'd rather put my money towards a platform that has that philosophy, vice a platform that doesn't have that philosophy, or they're not doing a good job, you know. So because my preference to put more money into the PlayStation platform because of what they do, bringing me more games from various developers and sources, while Xbox is not really doing that, I wait on Xbox. I don't buy Xbox consoles day one. I just wait till they get cheaper until the point where I feel like it hits the price where I can buy it for the exclusives. You know? Because generally, Xbox doesn't have a lot of exclusives. So a lower price, not a lot of exclusives, is justifiable. PlayStation does a lot to bring content to that platform. So I'd rather put my money towards that platform because that's the platform that delivers. You know? That's just me, though. All right? But anyway, this is your boy, Puerto Rock 77. Your only friend on these YouTube streets. Let me know what you think. How do you feel about this? Do you feel gaming should be the #1 priority? Or do you feel like, in general, gaming's mostly multi-plat, so focus on services and hardware, because really, exclusives don't do much? Let me know what you think, all right? I appreciate it. Hit up the comment box. Don't forget, hit me up with a follow, you know, PuertoRock77_. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And I hope you do, because then you'll be part of the family, all right? But anyway, your only friends on the YouTube streets is PuertoRock77, and I'm out. Peace.